The Marvels is hitting theaters this weekend. Is it a hit or is it a flop? Let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Caleb, and I love diving just a little bit deeper into our favorite TV shows and movies. If you can relate, comment down below what you thought of The Marvels, or are you just excited to see it? Have you not watched yet? I will say this is a spoiler review, so if you don't want to see any spoilers, I highly suggest you save this video and then come back later because there are some serious spoilers ahead. Real quick before we dive in, if you are new here, consider hitting that subscribe button, letting me know that you enjoy the content, and maybe click that bell if you want to stay tuned for more content in the future as well. And without further ado, let's talk about The Marvels. The basic premise of this movie is we meet Dar-Benn, a girl who was living on Hala, and when Captain Marvel wiped out Hala, she saw the repercussions of that, and they kind of fell into just a really bad planet and not a nice place to live. Can barely breathe, no water, no sunlight, just not good. They basically see Captain Marvel, they name her the Annihilator, and they just see her as probably the worst person ever. And she decides she's going to take matters into her own hands and start collecting these resources from all these different planets. This is then where the Marvels come in and they kind of have to stop her before she ends up basically tearing all these planets apart. So diving into just one of my favorite parts of this movie, going into this, I was not a huge Captain Marvel fan. At all. Going into this, I was not a huge fan of the way that they portrayed Captain Marvel in this. I love Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, but I wasn't sold on her in the first movie, and I wasn't sold on her in Endgame. After seeing this, I am fully on board with what they're trying to do here. They've fully made Captain Marvel feel so personable in the sense that she gets to see the repercussions of a choice that she made and see that, you know, she can't do all of this by herself. She's not just this person that can do everything by herself. And it's so refreshing to see that after the first Captain Marvel. Needless to say, I think they're slowly turning Captain Marvel into a way better character than she started out as. Monica kind of gets her staging ground here, and you just kind of get to see her grow, really. And that's because in WandaVision, we kind of were just, she got a little bit, but the show wasn't about her. So you kind of get to see her a little bit more of her in this, and I can't wait to see what the MCU just decides to do with her character more. But easily the heart of this movie is Kamala. I mean, her family, you know, comes aboard the ship. You just get this young kid perspective, kind of like all of our perspectives on everything. There was a joke she cracks in this movie about, like, why is all the technology you guys have, like, see-through? And it's pretty funny. She kind of said exactly what we've always been thinking, and I just really like that. There's also a lot of really great fight sequences in here, whether it's actually Captain Marvel, which was one of my biggest things that I loved about the first Captain Marvel movie, was that I loved a lot of the CGI and the action. I thought it looked great here. I didn't have really a problem with it here. And it was back, and it was just a lot of fun to watch, honestly. There's also this weird planet that they go to where their native language is people that can sing. So if you talk in a normal voice, like just regular like this, they can't understand you. But if you sing like that, then they can understand you. I don't really know what they were on when they were making this, but it's fun and inventive, and I really enjoyed that part of the movie. There's also an awesome Flurkin scene in this movie where they kind of have to evacuate, and they're like, well, we don't have enough pods, so the Flurkin just end up eating the entire crew, not eating, but basically just being like stored in here. And that was a pretty weird moment in the movie, but it's played over some really funny music, and it's just a really funny moment. I really enjoyed some of those specific moments in this movie. For me, the biggest thing about this movie is a lot of times when you go into shows like, oh, they just had fun in this movie. No, they really did. They really just had a good time with this one. Although there are action scenes and there are serious emotional moments, there's a lot more fun to be had between these three characters, and I think that's really what Captain Marvel needed. We needed that more emotional side with her, but we definitely wanted to mix that with the fun side of talking to other characters and just not feeling like she has to be alone, because that's what made her not a great character, in my opinion, is that she like really didn't bond with anyone. She was like this kind of, I can do everything myself, and I didn't really like that. I like when they kind of all work as a team. As far as Dar-Benn goes, she's not really much of a villain. She kind of is just like a placeholder for like what Captain Marvel did, and as the result of that, you kind of could have replaced her with anyone from Hala, and it really wouldn't have made a difference. But she was fine. I didn't really mind her as much as a lot of other people did. She was fine. Not really somebody you need to, you know, make a big deal about, but she plays her part well enough to progress the movie's story. I will say, I don't know if I wanted it to be like some huge villain, because I don't know if we would have really had time for that in terms of the runtime. And finally, I just want to talk about the two big things that happen at the end of this movie. Before the movie even ends, we get Kamala recruiting Kate Bishop to what I can only assume is the Young Avengers. But she really does it in a pretty funny way where she like acts like Nick Fury, and I thought that was, I don't know, I really enjoyed that. But that was probably the most surprising thing in this movie, was that. Well, aside from this next thing I'm about to talk about. I can't believe that in the end credits scene of this movie, we officially have the X-Men in the MCU now. Although it is a different universe, we get to see, so when Monica closes up the other world, she gets put there, and they kind of are, basically making sure that she's okay, hospitalizing her, all that kind of stuff. And at first she sees her mom, and she's like, oh, okay, well, you know, at least she's safe now. Well, how do I say this? They zoom out, and you see Beast making sure that she's okay. And then he even talks about Charles Xavier, which just erupted me. I just was so excited to hear them talk about that in the MCU of all places. And then we get the X door to Cerebro, I'm guessing. So, needless to say, had a pretty cool end credit scene. But those are my thoughts on the Marvels. I'd love to know your thoughts down below, and let me know, did you love it, did you hate it? What did you think about this movie? I personally went into this, I think I used the words cautiously optimistic. And to my surprise, I had a good time with this one. I know a lot of people are gonna hate on this because whether they don't like Captain Marvel, and listen, believe me, I was one of those people that I was not a fan of Captain Marvel, the first movie, and I wanted to like Captain Marvel so badly. And for me, this did it for me, especially with the other characters that are included in this. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace, everybody.